Okay, good morning, everyone. Let's call the meeting to order for Polk County Commissioners Court, August 4th, 2026, which is a special session. It's 10 a.m., Polk County Regional Health Building, Suite A. Okay, at this time, do we have anyone that's making public comment? Shelley sitting. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I just wanted to bring to the Commissioners' Court attention the salary study that y'all approved the last time. I don't really believe it affects my attorneys because they're exempt, non-classified, and they're not on the pay scale. But y'all approved a schedule that says that my attorneys are overpaid by $22,000, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I'm disappointed about the commissioners that y'all would have approved this pay scale and not ask a single question. I asked for a copy of the salary study, did not receive it. I got told they would be meeting with me yesterday, still have not had a meeting, still have not been told what numbers were included in the underlying data. And I was told it was sent to department heads. I don't know why I'm not considered a department head, but I will tell you that if anyone wants to do a salary study on the attorney schedules, it's very simple. You go to TDCAA, they list every county what they're paying. Angelina County starts $90,000 for a misdemeanor and I printed it for you, 110 to 130 for a felony prosecutor with zero experience. The other thing here, first assistant, if anyone had come and asked, a first assistant is supposed to be the person that if the DA's not there, they know what they're doing. They can try any case. This has the first assistant getting paid less than the misdemeanor prosecutor. So whoever did this and pulled the numbers are just not right. And if their numbers are so clearly wrong in the DA's office, how do you know any of the numbers in the rest of the schedule are even correct if you didn't look at the underlying data yourself? Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Shelley.
But I still would like to see the data.
Okay, let's take a look. Think what let's do. Let's start with the budget. So if you look at the new budget book, so the tax revenues, we were not comfortable going to a 98% collection rate. We did do a 97% collection rate because every year we have had some surplus from year to year that would be able to cover that collection rate. So the budget book that you have is at 0.63, which was at the request from last week. And then we did the 97% collection rate. Okay, so that is page 14 and 15. So if you flip over to page 72, that gives you the information on volunteer fire departments. And it gives you some guidance also. First of all, the formula was developed by the volunteer fire department chiefs. And then what they agreed to, because they had some people that were serving on volunteer fire departments that did not meet the background criteria. And so the background checks, they came up with some criteria. They provided it to the fire marshal so that he could do the background checks and there would not be any concerns. That would be an unbiased opinion. And so they undergo the criminal background checks, and that also was developed by the fire chiefs. And so we increased that by 10%, which the court already approved. Okay, if you go to page 101, you'll notice juvenile detention has gone up, and we've already exceeded the 2026 budget. So we're increasing the funding there. Also, we have multiple capital murder cases. We have not heard from Judge Wells, but we have heard from Judge Kitchens. And this is where we developed a budget, an operating budget that is strictly for capital trial expenses. That was done at Bobby Richards' recommendation a couple of years ago. And so that should help cover any expenses or overtime in the event that the district attorney has to go travel, or the district clerk's office does, bailiffs, etc. So that will go directly, it has to be marked in that manner and provided to the auditor's office. Okay, if you go to page 136, you all approved the continued operation of the Full County Recycling Center, and so that includes those changes. You're also going to see a recommendation on page 205, which is the Waste Management Fund, to utilize those funds that were allocated for the building maintenance and equipment maintenance, the $20,000, to place that in there for use, for buy uniforms or whatever's needed. Okay, if you go to page 147.
One what?
147, 146, and 147. That's your road and bridge, all of your major funds. And basically, the only thing that you need to do is notify Carrie prior to publication of any transfers or discretionary increases or anything like that you all are going to do. So precinct 1 is on page 146 and 147. And then precinct 2 is on page 154. Excuse me, keep going. Precinct 2 is on 157 and so forth. So each precinct is listed in there. Just make sure that you notify how you wish to change those and for publication of the final budget. And then that takes you to page 205, which is your Waste Management Fund, where the building repairs and equipment maintenance was included on that. The top 2 expenditures, and that budget is pretty much intact. There were some monies utilized, but that can remain, and that's what you all can utilize to start the recycling. Okay, SB 22 is page 227. So the sheriff's office receives $500,000, and the district attorney's office receives $275,000 for salary assistance. And this is for positions that have been added to the sheriff's office. And so all of those have been 100, the ones that have been added since SB 22 for the sheriff's office is implemented, and all of them are 100% eligible for SB 22 funding. If all the positions remain filled through the entire year that are currently listed, then they will have to utilize some of the general fund money to balance. So to balance those wages, taxes, and benefits, the remainder of them will have to be from the general fund. So we more than expend the SB 22 monies because that's subsidized. Okay, you should have a, just a review that we did for Commissioner's Court for the FY 2027 review. Okay. So this is where we are in the process. This is the final review for adoption. It's the work that we completed from July 14th and July 28th budget workshops. And the tax rate and the proposed budget will be set for August 11th, 2026 at 10 a.m. for adoption. So it's built on the tax rate that was approved at the last meeting. We did change the projected collection rate. The tax assessor collector, Tatum, did certify a 96% collection rate. Our actual collection experience over the last few years has been that we have increased the general fund, so we will be able to get given the reserve position, then it is manageable, and that avoids leaving usable revenue on the table. Okay, so at the public hearing, you will have the information that this budget will raise more revenue from property taxes than last year's budget by an amount of $2,248,176, which is a 7.65% increase from last year's budget. The property tax revenue that is raised from new property added to the tax roll this year is $929,533. So that new property is not eligible for some of the programs that we have. So what that means roughly is that approximately 41% of the increase comes from new property. So that's growth, not existing property. Okay, so right now, and certainly after this meeting, we will be happy to look at some of the options and consider what Shelley has to say. I myself have not had a conversation with Shelley and didn't realize, Shelley, that you had some questions, but happy to sit down. So the budget as it is presented includes a surplus of $276,403, and it's available and can be applied towards additional compensation adjustments. So some of the increases that we discussed look small. Every employee receives an increase, but some of those increases are very, very small. And then we have some employees were being paid below market for their positions and saw a large increase. Some were within the market and saw a modest one. And some were in a pay group found to be above market, and so their increase was minimal. So when we established the placement on the scale, and we discussed this last time, that some of those increases, right, are small and they remove the steps where those people increase. So if you will look on your employee compensation information, if you will look, you can see the difference. The difference is on the right-hand side. And so what we need today, and also the names or the positions are highlighted for those people that receive minimal or have lost steps because of it. So you can go through the entire one. Let's see. So if you look at them, you can see the changes, and you can see that we have some offices where there were multiple people that lost. Try not to knock down cowbell. There were multiple people that got minimal increases. Specifically, if you look like at the county clerk's office, there were minimal. They also have some increases that we need to consider for the auditors, for the district attorney's offices, because a lot of those are unclassified. So if you go through it, you can see how each one fell in that category. We did have some questions about the mental health grant. The mental health grant through the sheriff's department is not our grant. That does not go through our grants processes. That's a Burke Center grant. That's on page 19 of the sheriff's department. So that goes through Burke Center, and that's a supplementary for those particular employees. So you do have a lot of people that lost steps in the sheriff's office. If you look at page 18, those are all people that lost steps, and in some cases got a minimal increase. So that's the information that was provided to you all. Let me see. Okay, I can go through some of this, and then the court can decide how you wish to proceed. Okay. We do have several options that the court may wish to consider. We do not have enough sufficient funds to hold every employee at their current step, and it would not necessarily be appropriate because some got greater raises than others did. However, with the funds available, we could distribute funding to each department that would allow them to restore one step for those people that lost a step. The cost for that would be $197,200 approximately. This does not include unclassified employees in the county auditor's office. It does not include the district attorney's office, and it does not include the district court staff. So the unclassified positions are not necessarily included in that estimate. So that's something that the court needs to consider, is how to proceed with those offices. We did have a commissioner that contacted us expressing dissatisfaction with the increase for corrections officers. The study did show that they're within the market, and so they also did not receive huge increases. However, there are 42 corrections officer positions, and to move them all up one step would be a total estimated cost of $63,000, if that's something that the court wishes to consider. We do have the available surplus of approximately $276,000, and so that would allow the court to restore some of the lost steps for all the employees, and to provide one step for the corrections officers, and that would leave approximately $16,000, which could be used for the auditors or for the district attorney's unclassified staff. All of that's in your notes. And then the recycling center operations. We included a full-time recycling program coordinator position. You don't have a uniform budget or a supply budget yet, but the waste management fund budget was not completely spent and is available if you wish to consider that way. Okay, so, number 8, since there have been some questions about SB 22, we put an explanation in there. Senate Bill 22 was to support rural public safety by adding personnel and raising wages for the sheriff's office, the constables, and the district attorney's office. So the total amount received for the sheriff's office is $500,000. For the district attorney's office, it's $275,000. And for the constables, it's $18,594.75. So the total revenue from SB 22 is $793,594.75. You will notice that the constable portion, each constable is eligible to receive a set amount. Constable Precinct 3, since he began his term after SB 22 was implemented, is not eligible for as much. And so all 4 constables receive the same salary. Constable Precinct 3 just gets more funding from the general fund. With the sheriff's office and jail, all positions that were added to the sheriff's office and jail, the key word is added. Since the grant was first awarded, are 100% eligible for SB 22 funding, with the exception of certificate or longevity pay that those employees receive. So you have 4 corrections officers, 1 detective, 2 patrol deputies that are funded. District attorney, she has distributed a portion of her allocation amongst eligible staff. So both departments are budgeted over the amount that they will actually receive. The total budgeted expenditures in the fund are $904,441.61 against $793,594 with 75 cents in revenue. So the difference from the general fund is $110,447. So if they all remain filled, then the difference in wages and taxes and benefits will be covered by the general fund. Basically, we did this on purpose because this way we don't have to return any money, right, to the state for SB 22 monies. Okay, let's see. Let's pull. Let's start with the district attorney's office. So the district attorney's office shows some people that lost steps. And so if you look on that page, which will be page 11, you have some vacancies, but you also have your senior trial associate lost some steps. Your two senior trial associates, Jody Taylor, Katrina Britton, they need to be considered for increases. We have Jana Jimenez, which is also a trial associate, that got a bump but loses steps in the process. You have Renata, which is a trial associate also, that got a bump but lost steps in the process. Rachel Stinson got an $8,000 raise. You have a vacancy. Leon Middleton, your chief investigator, got a $1,682 raise, but lost steps as well. Then you have Megan Knighton, who is recommended also for a slight increase, but lost steps as well. And then you have some vacancies that we did not address. So the first district, assistant district attorney, current pay rate is $119,684.
Can I interrupt that? It's incorrect.
Yeah,
Our numbers are not right.
I apologize. This is just the general funded portion of those salaries. This
Okay,
is not
yeah.
including the SB 22 portion
Yeah, that's all we're looking at, is just general fund,
at this time.
yes, at that time.
But the problem is, if you're saying that someone, like, one of my ladies needs an $8,400 raise.
Could you come up here to the microphone, Shelley?
The problem is, you can't look at this pay rate with only county funds. I get $275,000 to supplement, and I have a list.
And we don't, and we have, that, we cannot interfere with that, we
No,
can't.
but if you come in and say, this lady needs a $8,000 raise, but because I can use Senate bill funds, you have to look at, I didn't go in and say,
Okay,
oh, the
Shelley.
market is
Shelley,
42, but I'm gonna pay her 48.
Shelley, how you choose to proceed. In your case, in the sheriff's case, we sign off on the SB 22. In the case of the constables and in case of the sheriff's office. All we look at here is what the general fund can afford. And you can move that money around however you see fit.
But if you announce in here that you're gonna give one of my employees an $8,400 raise, she's expecting an $8,400 raise. And what she doesn't understand is, because Senate bill had been giving her a different amount of money, she's not getting an $8,400 raise. You're moving around what's gonna be paid by the county and what's being paid by Senate Bill 22. And so, without looking at it together, when you make an announcement that she's underpaid by $8,400, they expect an $8,400 raise. But they're not getting that if they had Senate bill funds, because those will adjust.
And that's fine, that is fine. How you subsidize with your own Senate bill monies is entirely up to you.
But the other statement made was that Senate bill funds were being overspent. The Senate bill funds in the DA's budget were $275. They've already been back down to $214, so that I don't spend more than my $275, because the difference between the $275 and the $214 are all the retirement, the taxes, the benefits that I have to pay out of that.
And
Mine's not budgeted at above. So if I don't spend a dollar of it, we lose it, because I can't spend it on anything else.
well, that's correct, and that's the same thing with the sheriff. He cannot use it on anything else.
He can use it for equipment. I cannot.
Yeah, we can buy equipment, but we don't know what's going on with our Senate bill either, since 24. We're definitely not spending the money like the sheriff wants to spend it. We don't have a clue what's going on with the Senate bill either.
And to say to the general public that listens to this that we've budgeted more than the $275 so we don't lose it is incorrect. I've budgeted at $214. If I don't fill the slots, we lose it.
And nothing was said about you budgeting. We are budgeting over. We have over budgeted to make sure that
Maybe-
that the sheriff's office is always covered. That no matter what happens, the sheriff's office can
But you
utilize.
made the statement it
and
was
the
both,
jail.
and it was not.
Okay, so the discretionary funds with that the SB 22 monies, okay, the SB 22 monies are budgeted exactly as they requested. One time they requested some equipment, that was covered as well. All SB 22 monies are right in here being funded, okay, along with the fact that if something should change, that you will not lose any SB 22 monies.
Well, the difference is that the sheriff's office receives $500,000. And we
To the microphone,
requested
please.
it one time, and we've tried to stay steady with that amount that we requested for the jail employees as well as the law enforcement side. And then we took all other monies the first time and we spent it on equipment because it allows the sheriff's office to do so. Since that date, we have that first time, which would have been 24, we don't know. So when you say you're budgeting over to make sure that we don't spend over the allotted amount of money. We don't have a clue, but there's no way $500,000 for our side, for the sheriff's office, we should be able, we should ever go over. But again, when we start trying to say, hey, what we have in there, and what's there,
And you know
we don't have
what,
a clue.
Sheriff, if you wanna change it next year, you can, because let me tell you something.
Judge, I'd like to change it this year.
It
You-
is-
You
No,
opened the.
we have provided
asked
you
it-
with the information.
No, you have not.
No,
We
you haven't.
requested, you have not provided that information.
We
We
have-
requested that information on several occasions, trying to figure out, hey, what money do we have? Because the other thing we look at is that we don't want to have to come to you every single time and ask for the taxpayers' money. We figure, hey, we'll be able to get some of this equipment from SB 22, but we don't have a clue. And so when that statement's made that we've been provided this information, nah, negative. It has not been provided to us. So that's why I say
you know
this is
why,
that we
Sheriff?
don't have a clue. No,
I'll
don't
let you
tell me
tell
why,
you.
Judge.
Well, because it's impossible to keep up with 5.4% over here and 7.2 over here and call the comptroller's office and no one can answer the questions. So what we did is we did say, okay, let's fully fund them. And if the general fund has to absorb some of that, then the general fund will. If you want to change it next year, then that will be fine. Because it is not a simple budgeting question when you're dealing with a comptroller.
And I can't imagine it's a simple question or a simple answer. But this is the thing I look at, is that if there was not such a disconnect between us, so we could sit down and start talking about what SB 22 does and what we have and what's available for us. It's just like now when I ask the simple questions, I can tell the attitude, it just automatically just eats you up. It just, boom, it just becomes aggressive. All we want to know is what money do we have?
Well, then you know what? Why didn't you send us an email asking us that?
We
Sheriff?
have.
Carrie, have I not reached out
I
to
do
you?
not remember the last time y'all have asked me about the SB.
So I've
That's right.
not asked you, about what money we have remaining. I've not contacted you and asked you that.
When was the last time that you did? It might have been 2 years ago.
2 years ago? No,
No, we
ma'am.
asked this year.
No, we have
Did
been
you ask
asking.
Yes, we constantly ask how much money's left,
All
so
of
we
it is
don't go
being
over
spent
overtime.
on salaries. 100% of it is being spent on salaries.
But we don't know.
And I said,
We
no, we want to
haven't
know
got
just
the
what's being
information.
spent. And then, as though we're not trying to ask, but then the
It's a
other part of
simple
it is,
conversation, all we're
and
asking.
the other part of it is, we shouldn't have to ask. It should automatically just do a spreadsheet to say, hey, look, this is the money set aside for the sheriff, this is what you got remaining,
Well,
if we don't ask.
okay, Sheriff, let's answer some of your questions. Because we have asked you for this, and we have provided this information, we provided it to the court. So there's been an escalation in terms of your requests. So in 2021, the court spent additional over $300,000. Now, if you look at the request for equipment and changes and improvements and so forth, if you look at that, for 2025, over $2 million. And right now, you're dealing with an issue. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's all right
From
here.
Senate bill?
It's all right here.
From Senate bill.
Okay, so mobile radios, renovation of the jail, which was unplanned, mobile radios, unplanned, handheld radios, generator systems. So the commitment from the court has been let me finish speaking.
Sure,
The
I know my
commitment
mouth, I'm
from
just
the
standing here.
court has been pretty high in terms of the jail and the sheriff's office. Furthermore, we went on to fund all the payouts. Everything you have requested, we have paid out. So to say that we have not.
Have not what?
Now, here's the other thing. Just this week, oops, sorry. Just this week, y'all contacted us saying that the $30,000 that you requested from the court, that the work had not been done appropriately, it had not been correct, but that's a request that did not follow court protocols. You did not go through purchasing and procurement. There was no RFP, there was no contract,
Judge, I mean.
and then you asked for the contract.
So, I don't have a clue, Judge, where you're at. We were talking about Senate Bill 22, and you start throwing numbers about, like you said, let me finish. So you were asking about, we asked about Senate Bill 22, at least that's why we were up here. And now you start throwing out numbers about generators and this and that. If I'm not mistaken, when it comes down to Senate Bill 22, it's the sheriff's discretion on money, what it's spent on. Not generators,
And that's-
not this, that, because
No,
you brought
sir.
that up. You bought generators up and you just brought that up. And you brought about jail renovations, all that. That has nothing to do with Senate Bill 22. Nobody said that the court has not been generous and not been taking care of the jail. Because on the other part of the deal, that's the court's responsibility.
Okay, Sheriff, I have not received one single email from you requesting anything. Not one.
Judge, I never
Not
see you.
one.
When I need the information, I reach out to this young lady right here.
That is
Because
correct.
it seemed over the last 2 to 3 years, this is the only person in your office
Well,
that I.
that's because she was appointed to be your liaison, Sheriff, to
So
make
then-
things more efficient
so
for
then
you.
The question when you make a statement that you have not received any information or requests from me, it goes to your liaison.
And that's fine. And that is exactly the way we set it up. That is
So-
exactly the way we set it up.
So
that-
as we maneuver back to where we were talking about Senate Bill 22. We don't have a clue about what is being done with it. I'm sure it's being spent on the salaries. All we would want to know is when it comes down to equipment, what money is remaining so we know that we can buy, for one, consoles. We know we're going to have to get consoles because what we were told in the beginning, it's not true. So we're going to have to get consoles. There's a grant, but we don't know when that grant's going to fall through. So we were just, what money is there? Can that money, I know it can, I know it can be used. So we were looking at other equipment, radios, other things that we need to get that we were going to vouch in Senate Bill 22. That's why I was standing here. All this other stuff, the smoke, I don't have a clue. The Senate bill is what we were here for. We just wanted the information on
Well,
that.
then you know what? Send Carrie another email, but I have not seen anything.
Okay,
And Carrie was set up to be your liaison, and so we
that's why you didn't see
apologize.
anything, Judge, because she was supposed to be liaison.
Well, Sheriff, you don't respond to me, so that's okay, that's fine.
Yes, ma'am.
But for you to say that you don't know when you need to spend it on equipment, that's not a fair assessment of what the court
Nor that-
has provided you with.
Nor is that a correct statement that you just made.
No, sir, I'm responding to the fact that you're saying you need it for equipment and consoles. All of that can be included on the capital projections.
But why would we put it there when I know I can get it from SB 22 where it won't have
Well,
to go to
then
the.
that's where you have been told. Carrie, you are free to respond.
That money has all been allocated towards salaries. You originally requested
You keep-
$800 for
The
every.
entire $500,000 is went to the salary.
And then some.
And quite a bit more has been increased towards your salaries since 2024. But every bit of that $500,000 is going
So,
towards
a quick
salaries
question,
for
so-
eligible.
So, quick question.
Yes.
So, is the Senate Bill 22 funding the entire sheriff's office salary?
No, sir.
So, along with the county's salary, and then $500,000 from Senate bill, that's what it takes to pay the sheriff's office.
And what is budgeted right now is 4 corrections officers, 1 detective, and 2 patrol deputies, and that eats up the entire $500,000 plus some.
Yes, sir.
Just for those
Plus
7
some.
employees.
Okay?
But
If
that's
And
that,
the
not
rest
the
of
way
the
we
employees are
allocated it to
funded
be
by the
paid.
general.
I would say, that's different from what we sent in for it to be paid, that y'all chose to do it that way, but
For the
No, sir,
administration.
we told you that
because
last
much,
year
much
when we
easier
had
to
the meeting.
administer, and
We
it
told you
goes
that
No.
last year when we had the meeting.
no,
Yes,
that
sir.
was not told to us.
Yes,
Because all we wanted was information.
And we told you that last year when we sat right here at this table. We told you that last year, that all
We got
the
the
Senate
same
bill
answer at
money.
that table last year as we got this year, is that we don't know how much money is remaining. We're still figuring the numbers. That's what we were told.
No, sir. The Senate bill's money.
We have two different,
We told you last year, every dime, we even said it in open court, that every dime was going to you for your salaries to fund those added personnel. Does it go to any of those guys back there that have been here? No, because it's for added personnel.
that's not, even judge if that's true, but that's not the way that I had it set up. Because Senate Bill 22 is designed for the sheriff to say that I want this to go here, this to go there, and the judge's office to sign off whether they agree or disagree. Now you're telling me that you did it this way, but that's not the way we sent it in for it to be done. And if you chose to do it that way, and this was the best way to be done, wouldn't it have been simple just to say, hey, Sheriff, we decided that this is the best route for us to be able to do this, and this is why.
No, sir, it's not intended for me to just sign off and you do whatever you want. It's intended for us to be able to look at it and make sure that whatever you do is affordable and actually legal. And so, yes, we did go
Okay,
through it.
and that's.
And last year, when we sat down and discussed it, we told you, and we told it in open court, that those positions were being fully funded by SB 22, but because of the 5% over here and 7% over there, we streamlined it all in to make sure that they remained funded and to make sure that we did not have to return any funds to the state. That was
the goal, not to return any funds. I agree with that part.
well, then
All the other things
that's
that
what you
just
agreed to
said,
then.
Yeah, there's other things that we did not agree to. We didn't have a clue that this was what we do.
What
It was
did-
in open court, so then the commissioners themselves should
What
also.
specifically did you not agree to?
I did not
You
agree
did not agree to fund new
the-
new people?
You asked the question, you let me answer. So what I did not agree to is that you change what we sent it in for it to be done, the way that we wanted it allocated. Because it was for the sheriff to allocate. This money for here, this money for that. And then if it does not fit or it does not work, then the court be able to say, or the judge be able to say, hey, look, this doesn't work, Sheriff, the way you want this done. But we decided to do this better this way.
Sheriff, my point is you agreed to it last year.
To what, Judge, we never were asked anything about agreement for Senate Bill 22. Not one thing.
Sheriff, we discussed it last year,
You
which
you
is
said
part
that,
of
but
why.
not that.
It's because we
We did
sat
not
down,
discuss
we
that.
discussed it across the table. Yes, sir, we did.
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
sir, we did.
We agree to disagree on that.
Well, and
We agree to
then
disagree.
later, we discussed the TRA grant with you or the contract with you and gave you some options on that. And you said you wanted to make no change. So that's
Well,
your
TRA
decision.
What does that have to do with Senate Bill 22?
It has to do with payment. It has to do with pay
I mean,
scale of your staff.
Everything has to do with payment, but it's like these smoke and mirrors, but we talking about this, and then you gotta
there's
throw
no
something
smoke
else
and
out there that has
mirrors.
nothing to do with Senate Bill 22.
Sir, there's no smoke and mirrors.
You guys, I mean, here at Commissioner's Court, not Judge's Court, I mean, nobody else has, I mean, this is what it was said. And nobody has nothing to say. The proof is in the pudding.
Well, the
Look
proof
up
is
Senate
in
Bill
the pudding
22 itself and see
right
how it's
here.
supposed to be allocated. Who
The-
gets to say where it
the
goes?
proof is in
But
the
that's not
pudding.
what we were sending in, the way it's being done.
The proof is in the pudding right here. You
Yes,
have
ma'am.
4 corrections officers, 1 detective, and 2 patrol deputies.
You read
That
the
you
proofs in the
requested.
pudding in the writing there, Judge, but we had nothing to do with that.
Well, then Sheriff, at any point in time, you could have called this office and you could have come over here.
And Sheriff, if you're asking if us to speak up, I'm telling you, I would have to go back and look at the recording before I could say one way or the other. I would. I
And
mean,
far as-
I'm not arguing one way or the other. I would have to look before I could say.
Look, as far as I'm concerned, is SB 22, that was for you. And it was for the deal. Well, I don't have any say so in where you do what you do with it.
Can I speak?
Yes,
You know,
please.
I mean, that's
Carrie,
the
come on
way
up
I
to the
read it. Am
microphone.
I wrong?
No, you're correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
When SB 22 was implemented, you requested the entire $500,000 be put into salaries.
No,
You did. You requested a $3,400 raise for every person at the sheriff's, every TCO officer at the sheriff's office, and $5,800 for every person at the jail.
that fit into the
When you do all of the math for all of those positions and all of the taxes and benefits that go along with it, that is more than $500,000. So the Commissioners Court agreed to that increase and to help fund that increase. So the $500,000 was originally requested to go 100% into salaries. That first year, there was money left over for equipment because it was implemented after the start of the year. So instead of 12 months of salaries, it was only 9 months of salaries. So there was money left over at the end of the year to use for equipment. After that, because y'all had already requested that the entire $500,000 go into salaries, and that is what the court had already approved, increasing those that wage scale so that all of those departments were or all of those positions were going to be increased by that amount no matter what, whether they were eligible or not. So the court, when they continue to lift up salaries, has put that $500,000 every year into salaries. That was your original request.
So let me ask you, Carrie, so those funds that were used, where we allocated X amount of dollars for jailers, X amount of dollars for the peace officers that fit within the outline of the program, was that money, was that the direction on how we said it, was it changed and used now to fully fund positions?
For streamlining the paperwork, yes, because it used to be a nightmare to figure out how much of each deputy's payroll was actually funded by SB 22 and the taxes and the benefits that went along with it, because everybody had a different percentage, and every time their pay changed, that percentage changed, and the percentage is different for the salaries versus all the taxes and the benefits. So it is an administrative nightmare if you are going by 130 people
Probably so.
that I did that first year.
But again, and I guess this is where my problem's at, is that I understand what you're saying, the nightmare, and I understand about increases, but it changed from what we requested or what we sitting.
But you requested that it be put into salaries.
But you just said that it was used to fully fund new positions.
For the administration part of it, those positions had already been agreed to by the Commissioner's Court. So the $500,000 is still going 100% to salaries.
It just
But as
changed.
far as the paperwork,
It
the
changed from what we
easiest way
said.
to do it is for these positions to be 100% fully funded. And then instead of certifying 130 different positions and figuring out the math on all 130, you have 7.
Okay. So in open court, and that's the part here, in open court, you're telling me that all $500,000 is being used towards salaries and to fund new
Yes,
positions.
sir.
That changed from what the sheriff originally put in.
But what you originally requested was for it all to be to salaries. And it still could be all towards the salaries that were eligible based on the original
But
amount.
the documentation that you're gonna have from us is gonna be towards X amount of dollars for here and X amount of dollars for there.
When it's submitted to the state, it's for those new positions because that is the easiest way to do the paperwork.
That was the easiest way to do it, but it changed from what we originally.
But no one lost pay. If anything,
Everybody
the pay
paid
has
the pay
increased.
that
Okay,
you
thank you.
requested.
I appreciate it.
Okay. So we need some guidance from the court on how we would like to proceed. Oh, these things are fine. Okay, first of all SB 22 monies are going as we originally were directed, and how we do the budgeting portion of it, if we thought that that was essential, if you all want to change that, Andy, next year, then feel free. Someone can keep up with the percentages and do all of that.
I think the thing, Judge, is that
Can you come up
it's
here?
not,
Come on out to the podium.
we're asking to be included in the communication process when it comes to changes that's going on within our department, instead of us coming to open court and we're learning about a change. If that's fully funded and that's easier for her to do, we agree with that. We're just asking to be a part of that communication. I've asked several times,
And that's fine.
so when y'all agreed to pay overtime out of our unpaid salaries, all right? The first year we did it, I would call Miss Stephanie, she could tell me what's an unpaid salaries for jail and what's an unpaid salaries for the sheriff's office, and I would drop below 10 grand on that, so make sure I wouldn't go over my budget to pay this overtime. Since then, we're told they can't tell us because Senate Bill 22 is not worked out yet. And that's been all year long. We've just been told we have plenty of money. I think what the sheriff is upset about is we're not included in the conversation when it comes to changes to our employees when we actually should be. I agree with what she said. That's probably a whole lot easier to do this budgeting for Senate Bill 22. We was just like being included in that conversation. We were not. It was not covered in any budget meetings. It was not covered in open court. I'll stand up here and apologize to every one of you, any of y'all find that on video, that this was covered in open court during Commissioner's Court, because it was not. The petitions were approved, not how they were funded.
And
We just want to be included in the
And
conversation.
you know what?
That's
I
all we're asking.
apologize for that. I apologize that we did not tell y'all, well, we were gonna do the 5.2 to 7.4. We thought the goal was to get your guys paid, and we thought the goal was to make sure that no matter what, we did not send back any SB 22 monies.
No, we get it. Well, we wouldn't. We would have bought equipment with ours. Now, DA's office would have to send it back if it's unpaid.
Well, here's the thing, when you request a payroll increase, then it's gonna continue, it's not going to go away.
I agree.
And so that first year, you did have the flexibility of some equipment because it was only funded for the 8 or 9 months,
Yes, ma'am.
whatever it was, because it was mid-year, right? So with it being mid-year, yes, you had that flexibility. But we honored what the request was from the sheriff, and it got included from that point forward in every budget. Now, we don't go ask, the auditor's office, well, how do you do this? Well, why did you move that? Why did you do this? We thought the goal was to make sure your guys got paid. So,
But we do ask those questions because, we're trying to keep track of what we have so we don't have to come back to y'all and ask.
and
for
we're
money.
not arguing that. We're not arguing that at all. You should keep track of it. Every department should keep track of it. But
We just want to be included in the conversation when it comes to changes to employees, if that makes sense. And I think every one of y'all as commissioners or department heads out here, that they would want to know the same thing instead of being surprised.
Okay, we'll agree to disagree. That's what was discussed. Okay, so we need to move forward. And, okay, are you all okay with the 0.63 rate, which actually we already voted on, and the 97% projected collection rate? So we're gonna start with 97. We modified it to 97.
Okay.
I got a question to ask, and Andy and I were discussing this yesterday and today, this morning early. Like on this new pay scale, on the pay sheet, I'm showing where, let's take a deputy for instance, that's been getting paid, it's showing here $52,962.
Can you,
That's 115.2.
can you go to this one?
I do better on this one.
Okay,
I got it
well,
written down.
tell me which page on there.
I'm not sure about all that on that page. I'm just looking at the pay scale here.
Okay.
So,
Did we,
Page 17,
huh?
17 on your.
Okay. Okay, so let's look at it. What you got?
my biggest question is, and he's telling me this, and if we do it this way, you budget, well, that's fine, but I would like it clarified with what's what here. It's showing we're gonna be going, but he's saying they're getting paid $49,406. So one check is being paid for right now on the
That's a
beginning.
starting deputy.
Starting
no
deputy.
matter
That is a
what.
starting
Undisputed
deputy.
was advertised.
But it shows here 52.9.
Because that's your, see, I don't know what you're looking
On 2184 hours.
Okay. So a sheriff's deputy and a corrections officer, several other positions, are scheduled to work 7 12-hour shifts a pay period. That is 84 hours every 2 weeks, and that comes out to 2,184 hours a year. When they fill out their timesheets, if they take time off, if they're not scheduled to work, they should still use their time for that 12-hour shift. So at the end of the pay period, they've got 84 hours on their timesheet. So at this time, they are paid for the 2080, but they're accumulating those law enforcement credit hours for any hours worked between 80 and 86 hours per pay period. So if they're working 84 hours a pay period, or they're just putting 84 on their timesheet because they've taken time off, at the end of the year, the 2184, they've got 104 hours in their law enforcement credit hour bank. If they still have 104 hours at the end of the year, that's gonna get paid down to 80, so they're gonna get a check for 24 hours. And then if they work another year and they've got another 104 hours added to that at the end of that year, now they've got 184 hours. They're gonna get paid 104 hours. So the way it is set up right now, they're gonna get paid for all of those hours. Whether they could take them off, they could use them as a leave bank and take those credit hours off. Or they can keep them in the bank and get paid for them, either at the end of the fiscal year, or upon separation, or at the sheriff's request, as they have often requested to have vacation or comp or whatever hours paid out, and the court has always approved that. So they have those hours in their bank, because that is the way it is set up right now.
Let me
And the
say,
21, and the amount that's on here, the 21 is based on the 2184, because that is the amount of, that they are eligible to receive.
let me say something. If I was a deputy, or whatever, and I was working, and I worked 84 hours in 2 weeks, I'd be expected to be paid on 84 hours. I wouldn't be expected
The
to wait a
policy,
year
the
to get
policy
paid
can
on
be
that.
changed.
Huh?
The policy can certainly be changed and do that.
It needs to be changed.
Not a
On
problem.
that part.
Just ask the Human Resources Office to make that change and present it to Commissioner's Court, and it's already budgeted. So the funding is already there for it. It just needs to be a change in policy, if that's what everybody is asking
So
for.
like, for 27 here, we're showing $55,299 starting out.
Okay,
That's what budgeted, right?
that's
But
based on
that's
the,
not what their check will
that
be.
is based on the 2184. So
Right,
it goes through, just like I said,
2184.
if the policy is changed, then they'll get paid for
But
the
if the
84
policy's
hours.
not changed, they gonna wait a year before they get paid on that.
Change the policy.
Okay, that's what I'm gonna know.
You got anything to say on that?
Well, it's still not a guaranteed price. That's a guaranteed price if a deputy works every day they're assigned to work, don't take advantage of sick leave, and does not take advantage of vacation pay. Then that's a guaranteed price. If you work 80 hours, you're not banking any hours for this 104 over here. If you work an 80-hour pay period, you would have to work an 84-hour pay period every time to get to that bank over here. If you're just turning in 80 hours, you're not turning in anything to your bank to get paid for.
But if you're not working, you shouldn't get paid
Yeah.
for it, should you?
That's correct. That's correct. But I've got another question. If we're set up here, and this is just me. If we're saying we don't have money to give out pay raises, but we are budgeting, which is very smart, I would say, but we're budgeting for this amount, why aren't we paying the deputies that amount? Because apparently we do have the money for that pay raise.
Carrie, you better come up here.
Let me say one thing, it sounds to me like we are paying them, but at the end of the year.
You're not paying them that complete 48. The only way you're gonna pay that complete number, all right, and it's easy to do on the math, if that person doesn't take a day off.
If they take the time off, they're still supposed to account for the 84-hour pay period they're scheduled.
No, they just turned in 80 hours. Yeah, they just turned in 80 hours, because that's the reason why we went to this 80-hour deal, because the software over there did not like the 84.
It's not falsifying any records if you're using time, because you're scheduled for a 12-hour shift. You're scheduled for 7 12-hour shifts in the pay period.
Yeah, that's not what we're told, and that's not the way we've been doing it. That's not the way you told me, Ms. Gary. To be
Well,
honest
the
with you, that's
The
not the way.
policy changed, and that did change with it. And I
If-
thought
if-
we had that conversation, but it's possible we didn't. I've had this conversation with James, so he and I are on the same page, and he said that he has told you all. So
No,
but
that-
essentially, if you take
This-
a day off, that means you worked 72 hours, then use 12 hours of vacation, or use 12 hours of FLSA, or some leave bank.
Oh, 72?
I
Yes, they gotta get to
no,
80,
they-
yes.
They have to get to 84, because that's their schedule.
No, we've never been told that, and that's never been that way.
Well, that's in the policy.
That's a policy.
Well,
So I
is this a
apologize.
policy that was put out that was changed under the consent agenda? Which a lot of it gets done and not brought, this is what I'm talking about. When
Personnel
we make
policy.
changes to personnel and we don't get with the department heads on this, we don't know what's going on. I've had conversations with you, and I'm surprised you're saying this, really, it really surprises me. get to 80 on the timesheet.
That was,
No,
that was,
sir.
Yes,
over a year
yes,
ago.
ma'am.
The
80 on the
policy
timesheet.
the policy was changed last year.
Yeah, well, we've been doing that this whole time.
But
That's not what y'all said.
HR won't let you do it because what they do is,
Pat,
I know, but they
Pat, that's
treat us for
right.
You-
going.
Yeah, HR even.
You can come on up here and talk. It's a workshop.
I do timesheets a lot, so I'm just
Yeah.
telling. If I take a vacation day and I work my hours, if I turn in 12 hours vacation, they're not gonna take the full 12 and give me comp. They're just gonna drop it to 8 hours vacation to get to 80.
Yeah, and they're leaving.
HR will not do it. They
What
tell us all the time, I
happens to
fix
that other
it.
4
We just get to 80. There is no other 4 hours. I just
Well,
don't
if you
burn
turn
12 of
in- if you
vacation, I
turn
only
in
burn 8.
12.
I only burn 8 of vacation instead of 12.
So that's what's happening right now?
That's what happened, that's what's always happened. They only get to 80.
Okay, because that was the whole thing, the whole discussion was that every timesheet should be accurate. I mean, we sent out an email saying that every timesheet should be accurate because even not just you all, okay, every other department, if they work more than their 8-hour day, well then they're supposed to put that information in there accurately. That way you have the comp time accumulated or vacation or
But
whatever.
vacation is lost, right? If you don't use it within a year, you lose it.
There are some things
So,
that if you don't
okay,
use
so
it,
if you turned in 12 hours vacation and you only work 72 and you turn that in, they're gonna give us 4 hours of comp time. That HR said they won't do that because that stacks up.
But the time sheets should be accurate.
That's correct, and we have been, but
To
what
80.
he's saying is if I work my days, but I take a vacation day, so it puts you over on your comp, so you're gonna actually add FLSA time into your time deal,
Okay,
okay? So they're taking that time off. Personnel is getting to 80 hours. They do not care about 84 unless you worked it. Now, if you're taking off, they're adding the 80 hours and they're actually putting that time back on the employee's books. It has always been that way.
Then that is a conversation that we are gonna have with
HR.
HR and get that corrected.
So y'all get paid, some weeks, every 2 weeks you get paid for 80 hours.
Yes, sir.
And then sometimes you get paid for 84.
Well, I'll put it to you this way, Commissioner. So if he works an 84-hour pay period and we have the same, we make the same money, we got the same thing taken out of our checks. He works 84, I work 80, it's the same take-home pay.
Because the 4
How
hours
the hell
go
does that work?
on. The 4
Because
hours
the
go in
4
their
hours
accounts.
goes into a bank.
And if your pay goes up, then it
we're
gets paid
basing
out of
it
that
on,
rate.
That's why our starting salary is 49 something because that's what you're guaranteed.
Yeah. We
It's
can't
not-
advertise the 48. If we're gonna advertise 48, let's pay him 48. Or for the jailers. The 49, I think it's 51 if you figure it up on the 2184. And this deal that we're talking about on this timesheet has been that way. It has always been that way.
well, that should not have been that way because the time sheets, we were very, very clear when we went to the new system that the time sheets needed to be accurate because we had the same thing happening in other departments where they were like, well, I worked 81, but I put 80. No, if you worked 80, put 80. If you worked 84, put 84. If you worked 76, put 76. I
Well,
mean, whatever.
We agree with that.
When the policy was changed to create the law enforcement credit hours, that, at that same time, was supposed to be 2184. That's your schedule. That's what goes on your timesheet. And I've had that conversation with HR multiple times. So I don't understand why we're having that issue, but we will definitely correct it. Going forward, make sure that you're putting 84 hours on your timesheets.
Well, is that in the?
You know, to getting to the 84, if that's what your schedule
But even if we turn in,
Carrie,
they're
you
not
have
gonna
a
take the
question right
time.
here.
Is that, that's in writing someplace?
That's
believe
law
it's in the
enforcement,
policy.
yes.
Yeah, can we get a copy of that?
It's in the policy.
That should be, because whatever's in writing,
Is what you go by.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, the judge just proved the point. If you work over, yes, they want you to put it on there.
Yeah.
But if you work 80, you put 80. Our deal was to get to 80. Yes, if they work over the 84, or they work 84 or over, yes, that's going on the timesheet. That's correct.
Well,
but
Should.
this is
But
based on
if-
them working 7/12s every 2 weeks, right?
Yes.
So
Which
if they
one?
do that, the 50,
The deputies, the
52,
corrections
right.
officers, so, you know, the people that are working
yeah,
the.
52,962.
The what?
52,962. That's if they
That's
work
2184.
Yeah.
Yes. But
How the hell do we get to all these other 80s and everything?
Well, it's like-
If they work.
because that's what the software took. the software's having problems with 84, and that's the problem the whole time, the reason why we went back to this 80. Because before, we were doing
Software,
84.
you get past me,
I was thinking that got
But if you work,
corrected.
but if you only work 72, because one of those was a vacation day, they're only getting you to 80, which was 8 hours.
but if you turned in 12,
Yeah, if I turn in 12 vacation, what they're gonna still do is they're still gonna only take 8 hours vacation from me.
And
not
they're
give
gonna
me
leave it
4
80.
times.
The only time that we're,
I apologize, because that
Because
is
you can
not
look
how
at
it's supposed to be.
it-
No, that's
on
not the way it's
every
supposed to be
time.
set up.
Yeah,
That's not the way it's supposed to be set up.
this is in policy for us, and I know this, the only one time that we have to use that they have to take it, if a deputy or a jailer works holiday, and to get them to 80, they only use 4 hours holiday, they have to burn that 12 hours holiday. Because
Well-
that's in policy, and that was an agreement on the holiday time when it was changed before,
Yeah,
to get
because,
back to the 12 hours on what you work.
because we increased the rate, you got more money for holidays, right?
Working holiday.
Yeah, for
If you work
working
a
a holiday.
holiday.
So, but it was based on how people were scheduled. I mean, if you're scheduled to work on a holiday, then you deserve to be paid for that holiday time that you're losing. And so that, I do know that that was one of the modifications we made for law enforcement specifically, because we needed to make sure that they were not having trouble staffing when it was holidays, because of course everyone wants to go spend Christmas with their family, so they should be compensated for that.
If you were coming to sit at my desk today to get hired on, I'm gonna do a PAF for you for $49,406 is your guaranteed salary. For a start date.
Well, then,
That's a guaranteed salary that you're gonna get.
We should probably just change it to the hourly
That's,
rate.
yeah, that's saying I'm gonna
Yes.
use your.
Because that would be
kind of give
correct.
you-
well, because that is some of the people, we do have a lot of people in the sheriff's office that are losing steps as well. So if you look at page 17, you can see that some of the increases are very, very minimal. You know, you have one increase in the amount of $160. But that's also, they lost steps. And so that was one of our objectives in some of this, was to find a way to recoup the steps that people lost. Matter of fact, you're one of the exempt.
So we have to get to law enforcement jailers under the 207, you have to get to 86 before FLSA kicks in. That's where you're getting this 4 and the 6 numbers when everybody normally works an 80-hour shift. But the 4 and the 6 is regular time paid because of the 207.
But the
So-
having to put in for the 80 hours is incorrect. Because, I mean, we did have that discussion about how y'all wanted to structure some of that and what other counties were doing and how you wanted to proceed with that. And so we've tried multiple different things in terms of law enforcement, which included the holiday pay, you know, different rotations, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we did have that discussion, Judge, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And that's where we're banking the time now,
Yes.
but it was still 80 hours on the time sheet.
Well,
Well,
I don't know that I like banking the time. That's
Right.
my-
Starting pay should be
That's my,
52.
that's my
If
opinion.
that's what we're gonna say it is, based off 2184, that's what it should say on your PAF.
yeah.
And I agree with you, and we need to be, you know, honest, budgeted for it. Yeah, you need some cushion in there, you do. But even if you gotta make here and then for instance to the side of it, what's actually being paid, because when I look at it, sitting here behind this desk and I look at it, then it makes sense to me. It
then
don't make
let's-
sense to me when I look at one thing, but it's not something else.
Okay, then we need to change the policy, right, and take out the banking hours, right, and go from there.
And if you think about it this way, commissioners, if we're gonna pay the 52, if that's what we're paying, our ask for pay raises here would have been much less. They really would have been.
Okay, so you have the, and that's a policy change, which is not a problem. Because that was a discussion that was brought to the commissioners. Okay, so let's back up to the 97% and the rate as it is.
So we'll have that policy change on the next course.
We'll have it before the fiscal year starts,
Have it what
Okay,
before?
okay, so that'll start October 1st.
because that'll be
Yes,
the new
sir.
pay.
Okay.
Yeah. So, number one, budget add 0.63% rate, which we've already approved. And what we're changing is the 97% projected collection rate.
So moved, yes. Need a motion.
Mr. Purvis, Mr. Robertson, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we need to know whether or not you want to fund the one-step restoration for employees who lost steps. And that will cost us $197,200. You want to fund a one-step increase for corrections officers, which will be approximately $63,000. And then do you want to add funds to the auditors and to the district attorney's office? Which would be discretionary, then they can decide where to allocate.
For 2 and 3, we're talking $260,000.
Correct.
Right, correct. And then what funds for 4, what is that for?
That's about
That's extra.
16,000.
Yeah.
So if you look at number 6, on your information we gave you, we have an available surplus of the 276,403.
Oh,
So to restore one step to employees, which benefits everyone across the board, would cost us $197,200, which leaves us $79,203 remaining. And for one step, for the 42 corrections officers, it would cost us $63,100, which leaves you a little over $16,000. And that would address some of the auditors, unclassified staff, and your district attorney's office.
That'd be a one-time.
Oh, no, 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 no,
I
no,
mean,
no,
well,
no,
I
no,
know this right
that would be budgeted personnel.
Okay.
We would not come back and pull any of those funds,
Okay.
because it would be a recurring cost.
But I'm talking about restoring the
Yeah,
79,
well-
that's what I mean, yeah.
Well,
We can
we
do
would
that.
restore the one step, and then it would go forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, but for
Yeah.
this,
Yes,
purpose of this, and
yes,
do you need a, motion?
yes.
I'll
yes.
make the motion.
Okay, you wanna make the motion, for number 2, or 2, 3, and 4? How do you wanna do it?
So I want everybody to, we wanna stay within our area, but, our budget, but at the same time, we want to help everybody and make,
Okay, so, this is where I'm going with that. So we would restore the one step for employees who lost
correct.
step. And then do you want to include the one step
Yes,
also for corrections officers?
right, so we'd have about a little over 16,000.
So then we would have 16,000 that we could allocate for the district attorney and for, the auditor's office. You okay with that?
Yes, I am.
Okay, comes as a recommendation from Commissioner Robertson. Any discussion, questions?
Second.
Huh?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Purvis. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, and then item number 5, confirm the use of unspent waste management fund dollars for recycling supplies and equipment.
So moved.
Okay, Commissioner Cassidy, Commissioner Purvis, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Very well. Commissioner Purvis, Commissioner Cassidy.
11:15.
Thank you, ma'am.